So, as promised from last week, I have a scheme to share, and it involves you. So, we're going to get into that today. But first, where the fuck did 2023 go? Does anyone else feel like this was the longest year ever and that it also went by in a blink? We're now in the final few months of 2023, if not pretty much the final couple months of 2023. And for most of us, that means making the most of this time to complete the goals that we set out at the beginning of the year and also start thinking about those big 2024 plans and dreams. And I'm not going to lie, as I already mentioned, I have an agenda for today, a hope that I can sway you as you're planning and dreaming. And that's in prioritizing setting up a regenerative model for your business in these last couple months. And if not then at least while you're dreaming into 2024. So luckily, I have a lot working for my scheme, like the seductive smell of night blooming jasmine and the rhythmic pull of crashing waves and the weighty recognition of being far from alone when walking in a forest. So today, like the Lorax being a voice for the trees, we will be chatting about 5 big reasons why you prioritizing reconstructing your business into a regenerative business model is essential right now and pretty fucking urgent. Ready? So, our number one reason is that the world is really fucked up right now. And unless we drastically change things now, then things will get really bad in our collective physical reality. And if you're a love and light person, then God bless your soul. But we live in an earthly plane that is being devastated by a climate crisis and our actions. So I'm going to assume if you're listening to this podcast, that's not you. And you're not like a non-dual person who thinks that everything is fine and that good is good and bad is good and everything's great and whatever. But I personally think that this is a very obvious number one, right? And you know this, even if you aren't watching the news every day. Thousands of scientists and government reviewers agreed that limiting global temperature rise to no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius would help us avoid the worst climate impacts and maintain a livable climate. We're currently on track to increase as much as 4.4 degrees Celsius by the end of the century. So that's about 4 times as much, 3 or 4 times as much. And the consequences of climate change now include, among others, intense droughts, water scarcity, severe fires, hello Maui, rising sea levels, flooding, melting polar ice, catastrophic storms, and declining biodiversity. We're already seeing this. It will only get worse. And these stats are all from the United Nations, by the way. The worst effects of the climate crisis are expected to hit developing countries the worst, even though the country that you most likely live in, if you're listening to this, is doing the most damage. The 100 least emitting countries generate 3% of total emissions. The 10 largest emitters contribute 68%. And then, final little stat I wanted to share with you is conditions like sea level rise and saltwater intrusion have advanced to the point where whole communities have had to relocate. In the future, the number of quote unquote climate refugees is expected to rise. And again, this is usually in these places that are the least emitting countries. So, really, let's just look around us. Maui's fire were caused fundamentally because of temperature rising and water that should be in natural springs on the island being diverted to hotels and owned by private entities. And I'll go a little behind the scenes hush hush on that in number 4 today. And in the first 11 days of September 2023, 8 devastating flooding events happened on 4 different continents. And young people are starting to sue governments over climate change and winning. See the state of Montana. We're all on this spaceship Earth that is spiraling towards being a planet unfit to house humans. Earth will be fine, but can humans survive on it? Not at the current rate. Yet instead of coming together as a whole, we're confined by a society that continues to separate us, pit us against each other, fear for our lives, while completely distracted by social media, reality shows, shopping, whatever, for hours every single day. Stats show this, which is so understandable as we're all living with this existential dread. Numbing out is a legitimate body response to what's happening in the world. But when you open up your channel to the work you're meant to do in the world and create the support system of a regenerative business ecosystem, you will naturally find yourself being an active part of the solution, which quells the need to numb out. Okay, number 2. We're forced to hyper-focus on our individual situations, which takes away our capacity to see what's actually happening. The 40-plus hour work week drains our bodies so that we don't have the time or energy to care. Especially if you also have kids, aging parents, a social life, you're trying to exercise the recommended weekly amount and feed yourself well. Rising living costs make it so that many people have to be in this monthly stress cycle of just paying the bills to get by. You have to focus so much on making money, budgeting, saving, even if you make far more than the average person's income, which, according to the internet, is $31,000 is the average person's income in the US, and $75,000 is the average household income in the US. There's the common phenomenon, even if you make well above that, there's this common phenomenon I'm sure you've heard about called lifestyle creep, where even if you keep making more money, your lifestyle becomes more expensive. And again, every month, money feels tight. Creating a regenerative business allows you to just step out of that stress cycle as you realign your schedule with your natural rhythms. You are supported by collaborators, and your business ecosystem is set to support you in the mission of your business. Okay, number 3. Your most impactful work comes from your true nature. Do you believe in destiny? If you want to know what I think it's a nuanced thing. I think that we were born, much like a seed, like an acorn, which inside it has the blueprint it needs to become a massive oak tree. It won't grow into an orchid plant or into a horse. There's natural inclinations and desires in that acorn. What you're meant to do in the world is guided by your very unique desires and natural inclinations, assuming you do the work to deprogram from what your family and society and community trained you to believe is valuable, good, worthwhile, possible. Beyond that, there is the time and place in which the acorn is planted, right? If an acorn is planted in the middle of a field versus under a bunch of other trees in a forest, and if it's during the summer versus in the winter, it impacts how well the acorn grows and how the acorn grows. So what if you as a soul had chosen to be born into the family you were born into? I'm not saying that's true. It's just a thought exercise today. What if you, as a soul, knew that the family you grew up in this time period, in this society, was the exact journey you were supposed to go on to mold you into the being capable of carrying out the great work of your lifetime? Through connecting in with the wildness of nature and your nature, you will uncover the most impactful work you will do in this world. Not saying that it'll be easy, but I do promise that when you're on that track, the world opens up for you. You may have to put in work, but you will feel in your bones that it is right. And it will almost feel shocking how much authentic motivation and drive will flow through you. Number 4, your wealth opens up doors. And this is number 4, just to remind you of what we're talking about here, is number 4 of the 5 big reasons why you prioritizing reconstructing your business into a regenerative business model is essential and urgent. So number 4, your wealth opens up doors. Maybe this is a sad truth, but it is a truth. When you start making way more money, it is easier to have a seat at the table in powerful rooms that are unfortunately mainly ran by white men right now. For example, right now, the water rights on the west side of Maui are essentially held by an 80-something-year-old super Christian white man. And by super Christian, I mean he drops Bible quotes in every conversation to justify his actions. He quiet titled Hawaiian land in the 90s and early 2000s, meaning he essentially stole it, and believed he was/is preventing Hawaiian families from, quote unquote, squabbling among themselves over the land by taking it. And my husband has been in intense arguments with him trying to get land back to Hawaiians. So we have this directly in writing from this dude. Like in his bones, he thinks he did the right thing. This guy is in a seat of power because he had the cash at the right time to purchase. Unfortunately, there are shitheads like that running things in the world. Sure, every human deep down may be good, but the reality of trauma and programming make people's current thoughts and actions pretty disturbed and what I would consider evil. You are not that. You making way more money puts you in a place of power to do large-scale good. We need this. It is urgent right now. And finally, number 5. Regenerative business naturally ripples out tangible, positive change into your community and into the world. Not just from your intentions, but from structuring your business around the principles of nature. If you read Regenerative Business, then you know that there are principles of nature that we can put into place in our business, in our businesses, that create more abundance, more fulfillment, more impact. You also know that they are interwoven with your local community, your online community, and the world at large, because everything is interconnected. So next week, I'm going to be sharing about the exact structure of a regenerative business and how nature would design your business. I seriously cannot wait to share that with you. But for now, I invite you to open up to the idea that the structure of your business can perpetuate the industrial mindset of objectification and depletion, or it can emanate the innate abundance and good of nature. It's possible. And if you missed it, the Regenerative Business Creation Lab opens on November 13th. I cannot wait to share so much more detail with you in November about that on November 13th. But for now, the waitlist is open, and it is the only way to get first access and a 40% off discount. So head on over to the show notes or thedirtyalchemy.com to sign up if you aren't already.